Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into something that's pretty important, especially in today's world, I think. We're talking all about digital childhoods.
Mm-hmm.
So how kids experience tech and what it means for, their health and development.
Yeah.
We're going to be looking at this really cool policy brief. It's called Digital Childhoods.
Okay.
It's put together by this commission that's like studying the future of health.
Interesting.
And I found this stat that's kind of mind-blowing. 1 in 3 internet users is under 20.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That is a lot of young people.
Yeah, it's a whole generation growing up online.
Right.
But, it's not as simple as it sounds, right?
Right. There's this, I think there's this kind of like assumption that all kids are just glued to their devices 24/7.
Yeah,
But the reality is it's way more complicated than that.
for sure.
The report actually highlights that a pretty staggering 2.2 billion young people under 25 don't even have internet access at home.
Whoa, 2.2 billion.
Yeah,
That's like a huge chunk of the next generation.
it is.
Like, it really makes you think, what does that mean for them growing up without something that's, becomes so essential in our world?
Absolutely. I mean, it's not just about missing out on the latest trends or, whatever's happening on TikTok.
Right.
It's about access to things like education, healthcare.
Yeah.
Even just like connecting with the wider world.
Yeah.
It's a major roadblock to opportunity.
It is.
And the report, it kind of lays it out pretty starkly. You've got 87% internet access for kids in high-income countries
Okay.
versus a shocking 6% in low-income nations.
Wow. That difference is like mind-blowing.
Oh.
And I bet it has like this ripple effect on their health too, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about it. Limited access often means, a higher risk of disease because you're not getting the same information
Right.
or preventative care.
Yeah, yeah.
Plus, when you do need health care, like actually accessing it can be a whole other challenge
Totally.
without the internet.
Yeah. It's like the gap just keeps getting wider.
Mm.
And it's not just about having a connection, is it? The report also talks about like socioeconomic background, digital literacy, family rules, even gender. All these things play a role.
Yeah, you're right. Just having access isn't like a magic solution.
Right.
Take digital literacy, for example.
Okay.
It's not just about being able to use like a smartphone.
Right.
It's about critical thinking, understanding how to, evaluate information online,
Yeah.
knowing how to stay safe, protect your privacy.
Mm.
It's a skill set we all need, not just kids.
Yeah, for sure. Which is kind of ironic considering the report found that 88% of young people use some form of digital tech for health purposes.
Mm.
Like they're already in that space
Mhm.
trying to find information, connect with resources.
Exactly. They're already engaging with health online, so that digital literacy becomes even more critical.
Yeah.
It's not just about protecting them from harmful content.
Mm-hmm.
It's about empowering them to find reliable information, advocate for their health, make informed decisions.
Totally.
And this isn't just on kids, right? It's parents,
Yeah.
it's educators, policymakers.
For sure.
We all need to step up and make sure they're equipped with those skills.
Absolutely. It's like we need a whole new kind of literacy for the 21st century.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, this is where the report gets really interesting, I think.
Okay.
It lays out these 6 profiles of digital childhoods.
Mm-hmm.
Different ways kids experience the digital world.
Interesting.
I love this because it moves beyond like those simple labels of connected or unconnected.
Yeah, it acknowledges that the reality is much more nuanced.
Right.
You can't just lump all kids into 2 categories.
Exactly.
This typology, it digs into the complexities of, access, usage, and how it impacts their lives.
Okay, so let's break down these profiles.
Yeah.
First up, we have the digitally excluded, no internet access whatsoever, relying solely on local health systems.
Right.
Which, let's face it, can be pretty patchy in some places.
And that exclusion has a direct impact on their health outcomes. Think about the potential of telemedicine.
Yeah.
Completely out of reach for these kids.
Yeah.
They're often missing out on vital health information and struggling to access even basic healthcare services.
Right.
It's a stark reminder of how the digital divide translates into real-world consequences.
It's like they're stuck in a system that's not designed for their needs.
Yeah.
Next, we've got the digitally limited. One shared device at home, maybe some internet access, but it's inconsistent
Okay.
and usually comes with cost barriers.
Imagine trying to, do your homework, research a health concern, or connect with friends when internet access is so sporadic. It's frustrating
It is.
and puts them at a huge disadvantage.
So it's got to be tough, constantly feeling like you're falling behind. All right, then there's the digitally intermittent group. More frequent access, but still inconsistent, often due to infrastructure problems or, going back to what we discussed earlier, low digital literacy.
This inconsistency makes it really hard to gain any kind of digital fluency, you know?
Yeah.
You might have access one day and not the next.
Right.
Makes it really difficult to develop the skills and habits needed to thrive in a digital environment.
It's like you can see the potential, but you can't quite grasp it. Okay, so we've got the digitally excluded with no access,
Yeah.
the digitally limited, struggling with costs and consistency, and the digitally intermittent facing that, like frustrating on-again, off-again connection. What about the kids who do have regular access?
Right.
So we've got like this whole spectrum of access, but even with access, things aren't always straightforward.
Right.
That's where this next profile comes in. The digitally cautious, these are the kids who have regular internet,
Okay.
but maybe their parents are like super strict or they're, anxious about online stuff, so their usage is kind of restricted.
Right.
I'm curious, what kind of impact does that have?
Well, it's a balancing act for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, parents are right to be concerned about the risks online,
Yeah.
but too much restriction can actually be detrimental.
Right?
It can like stifle a child's curiosity, limit their opportunities to learn and grow in a digital space,
Yeah.
which is, increasingly important for everything.
It makes me think about those families that the report mentions where kids have to share devices.
Right.
It says it can be tough for them to research sensitive health topics because they're worried about someone seeing their search history.
Absolutely. Imagine being like a teenager
Yeah.
trying to learn about, I don't know, sexual health or mental health issues.
Right.
But you're on a shared computer. The potential for, embarrassment or judgment is huge.
Yeah.
It can make it really hard for them to access the information they need,
Totally.
especially on topics that can be sensitive.
It highlights how important it is to, create a safe space for kids to explore those topics online, whether it's through private browsing modes
Right.
or just open communication with a trusted adult.
Yeah, definitely. And it also brings up the issue of parental monitoring.
Yeah.
Some parents are all about strict content filtering,
Uh-huh.
while others are more hands-off.
Right.
Finding that right balance is so crucial.
Yeah, you don't want to be totally in the dark
Yeah.
about what your kids are doing online.
Right.
But at the same time, you want to give them the freedom to explore and learn.
Yeah.
It's like walking a tightrope,
Yeah.
trying to protect them while also fostering their independence.
And parental control isn't just about, blocking websites.
Right.
It's also about having open conversations about online safety,
Yeah.
setting clear expectations, teaching kids how to evaluate information critically.
It's about empowering them to be responsible digital citizens, not just passive consumers.
Exactly.
So we've talked about limited access
Mm-hmm.
and now restricted access.
Right.
But what about the kids who are practically living online?
Yeah.
The report calls them digitally consumed.
Okay.
Excessive time online,
Mhm.
potentially exposed to harmful stuff, and not a lot of guidance.
Right.
It sounds like a recipe for trouble, right?
There are definitely valid concerns about this profile. It brings up all those issues we've been hearing about for years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Screen addiction,
Yeah.
sleep deprivation, the impact on, mental health,
Yeah.
social skills. It's not just about the quantity of time online. It's about the quality of that time.
The report even talks about how social media can mess with kids' self-esteem,
Mm-hmm.
body image.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard enough being a teenager without constantly comparing yourself to those, perfectly curated lives you see online.
And it's not just social media.
Right.
Think about the rise of online gaming
Yeah.
and the potential for addiction, unhealthy behaviors. We're starting to see the the long-term effects of excessive screen time play out,
Right.
and it's not pretty.
This is where the report's findings about cost barriers become relevant again.
Yeah.
It mentions that some kids, especially in lower-income households,
Mm-hmm.
might rely heavily on public Wi-Fi, which can be unreliable and even unsafe.
Exactly. It's not just a matter of convenience, it's a matter of safety.
Yeah.
These kids might be more vulnerable to things like, cyberbullying scams,
Right.
exposure to inappropriate content simply because they lack access to a secure and private internet connection.
It's a reminder that digital equity isn't just about having a device and an internet connection.
Right.
It's about having access to, like, a safe and supportive online environment.
For sure.
But it's not all doom and gloom, right? We've
Right.
got one more profile to explore.
Uh,
The digitally immersed. These are the kids who seem to have, like, figured it out.
okay.
They're comfortable online, they're using tech for all sorts of things,
Mm-hmm.
but they're doing it in a healthy and productive way.
This profile is like the gold standard of digital childhoods. These kids can seamlessly transition between the online and offline worlds.
Yeah.
They're using tech for learning, communication, entertainment, even, managing their health. And they're doing it all while staying safe and informed.
Okay, so, like, what's their secret?
Yeah.
How do they manage to strike that balance while so many others are struggling?
Well, the report suggests it's a combination of factors.
Okay.
They usually have access to reliable internet.
Mm.
They've received good digital literacy education.
Okay.
And they have positive role models in their lives,
Right.
whether it's parents, teachers, or mentors.
It sounds like it's not just about, like, individual responsibility.
Right.
It's about creating a supportive environment.
It takes a village to raise a digitally fluent kid.
Exactly. And it's not about shielding kids from technology altogether.
Right.
It's about equipping them with the tools and knowledge they need to navigate the digital world safely and responsibly.
It's like giving them a compass and a map.
Yeah.
Before sending them out into uncharted territory.
Yeah.
They need the skills to find their way, but they also need to know that there's someone they can turn to for help if they get lost.
That's a great analogy.
Thanks.
And it highlights the importance of open communication.
Mm-hmm.
Parents, educators, even peers
Right.
need to be able to talk openly and honestly about the challenges
Yeah,
and opportunities of the digital world.
absolutely.
It's about creating a culture where it's okay to ask questions, admit mistakes, and seek help when you need it.
For sure.
So we've covered a lot of ground here,
We have.
from the digitally excluded,
Mm-hmm.
who are completely off the grid,
Right.
to the digitally immersed, who are, navigating the digital world with confidence and skill.
It's clear that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to this.
Exactly, and that's
At
why
all.
this typology is so valuable.
Yeah.
It helps us understand the nuances of digital childhoods
Uh-huh.
and the different factors that contribute to, like, a positive or negative experience.
Absolutely.
It's not about demonizing technology
Right.
or praising it blindly. It's about recognizing its potential
Mm-hmm.
for both good and harm,
Right.
and working to create a digital environment that supports the well-being of all young people.
And it's about recognizing that this is an ongoing conversation.
Yeah.
As technology continues to evolve, so too will the challenges
Yeah.
and opportunities it presents for young people.
Okay, so we've explored the 6 profiles of digital childhoods. We've talked about the challenges of access, the importance of digital literacy,
Right.
and the need for open communication.
Mm-hmm.
But what does this all actually mean?
Right.
How do we take this information and turn it into action? As we've been talking about all these different digital childhoods, I can't help but think about, like, my own experience
Yeah.
growing up with tech.
It's interesting, isn't it, how our own journeys with technology shape how we see this whole issue.
Totally. Like, I remember when we got our first computer,
Mm.
it was this, like, giant clunky thing that took up half the desk,
Yeah.
and the internet. Dial-up, baby.
Oh, yeah.
You could, like, go make a sandwich while waiting for a page to load.
I remember those days.
It really highlights how much things have changed, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. That slow burn internet feels like a lifetime ago.
Right.
Mm.
And I wonder, how would my childhood have been different with a smartphone in my pocket 24/7?
Right.
Social media and everything.
It's a whole different world. The sheer volume of information, the constant potential for connection, the way it blurs the lines between, like, online and offline, it's both amazing and a bit overwhelming to think about.
It really drives home the point that these digital childhoods aren't just abstract ideas in a report.
Right.
They're real lived experiences that shape how kids see the world, how they connect with it.
And it underscores the fact that there's no one-size-fits-all solution.
Right.
What works for one kid might not work for another, and what was considered normal a few years ago might be totally different today. Parents and educators are basically trying to hit a moving target.
It's like trying to write a rule book for a game that's constantly changing its rules. But that's why this report is so important.
Yeah.
It challenges us to think critically about how tech is impacting young people and how we can make sure that impact is positive.
Absolutely. It's a call to action for all of us, parents, educators, policymakers, even tech companies, to step up and create a digital environment that truly supports the well-being of all kids.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive into digital childhoods,
Hmm.
what are the key takeaways?
Right. Well, first off, remember that digital childhood isn't a one-size-fits-all concept.
Right.
These experiences are incredibly diverse.
Yeah.
Access, family background, digital skills, even cultural norms, it all plays a role.
It's about understanding those individual experiences and tailoring our approach accordingly.
Yeah,
No more cookie-cutter solutions.
exactly. And secondly, remember that tech itself isn't the problem. It's a tool. It can be used for good or bad, just like any tool.
Right.
The key is giving young people the knowledge and skills to use it wisely.
It's like teaching them how to use a hammer. You don't just hand it over and say, good luck.
Right.
You show them how to hold it, how to swing it, how to use it safely. Digital literacy is the same idea, just for the digital world.
I like that analogy. And finally, we need to remember that this isn't just someone else's problem to solve. We all have a role to play. Parents, educators, policymakers, even just concerned citizens, we can all do something to make the digital world a healthier, more equitable place for young people.
So how do we do that? Like, what are some practical steps people can take?
Start by talking to the young people in your life. Ask them about their online experiences, what they struggle with, what they enjoy, how they feel about it all. Open communication is key.
Don't just lecture them about screen time. Actually listen to what they have to say.
Exactly. And stay informed. Learn about the potential risks and benefits of, different apps and platforms. There are tons of great resources out there for parents and educators.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And support organizations that are promoting digital literacy, working to close the digital divide. Advocate for policies that prioritize the well-being of young people online.
And most importantly, be a good digital role model yourself. Set healthy boundaries with your own tech use. Show young people that it's possible to have a balanced and healthy relationship with the digital world.
It's all about leading by example, isn't it?
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into digital childhoods. It's a complex issue, but I think this report gives us a roadmap for how to navigate it.
It's not about fearing technology.
Right.
It's about understanding it, harnessing its power for good.
Yeah.
And it all starts with recognizing the diverse experiences of young people and working together to create a digital future that benefits everyone.
So as you go about your day, think about which digital childhood profile resonated with you most and ask yourself, what can I do to help build a healthier, more equitable digital world for all young people? That's a wrap on this deep dive. Make sure to check out the show notes for a link to the full Digital Childhoods report. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.